Awesome. We are live. This is our first recorded session with Lance Cottrell. I'm
Cultural.
not sure. Did I say that right? Awesome. Holy cow. Super cool. I am pumped for this opportunity. I'm actually a little bit nervous, which hasn't happened yet. Super cool. Super cool. I am going to start off with a little bio, and then we'll get into the structure, and then we will dive right in. I am Jonathan Geyer. I started this 20 weeks ago, thereabouts. I think this is our 20th episode. I helped implement a health information exchange for the state of Minnesota, and I was stationed here in St. Cloud, VA. That is a big deal. I will bring that up every episode. Why? Because I had the opportunity to sit down and drink a cup of coffee with 30 some odd thousand veterans. And this was just conversational. It's a big deal because it changed how I think. It changed my perspective. How I express myself now is through the experience, the lenses that these veterans interactions provided me. Yep. Yeah, I also coach a boxing class. And when our class filled up, we started recording them and putting them on YouTube, similar to, I was thinking like church service. You know, if you can't make it in, it's still good to watch. Well, we started recording them and putting them on YouTube. We just we're about to cross 300,000 views, and people from all over the world watch us. A bunch of celebrities watch. It's been a big deal. Yeah. Okay, well, I would like to open up the floor to Lance.
So you want me to start with an introduction?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I guess I am a lapsed astrophysicist. I got into entrepreneurship while I was working on my PhD in astrophysics down in San Diego. But in my spare time, I got interested in privacy and cryptography issues. And so I began to do some work in the open source community. That sort of took off and pretty soon became more exciting to me than the research I was doing. So in 1995, I founded Anonymizer, which was the world's first internet privacy company. Grew that and survived the dot-com fallout in 2000. And after 9/11, after the terrorist attacks, the government really began to wake up to the issues of privacy and the internet as a threat environment. And we ended up being able to pivot into that and started building platforms for conducting online undercover operations. But at this point, I pivoted out of my competence. I sold the company, stayed on with them as chief scientist, and started getting involved in angel investing and advising startups, which is what I'm doing now.
Oh my gosh, that was super cool. Did you say astrophysicist?
Yeah. I was doing a bunch of applied astronomy research using the Hubble Space Telescope and the Big Keck telescopes in Hawaii, looking at some stuff in the very early universe.
Oh my gosh, I do not remember that from our original conversation, and I deep dived. Holy cow, super cool. Okay, well, we have a time limit here, but real quick, about 3 weeks ago, I made a rock solid legal argument against the Big Bang being the start of existence, and my point was that we've never measured nothing. So any conclusion where nothing would be any situation where nothing would be the conclusion is less supported than something. You know, like what's before the Big Bang? Nothing is the least supported conclusion out of all the options. Something is more probable than nothing. It was awesome. We had a bunch of people from NASA supported it. Nobody said I was wrong, so I'm going to take it as a win. Yeah, awesome. Okay, well, we are just going to dive right into it. Structurally, I read a paragraph at a time, and then we discuss it. And Lance and I were just talking a moment ago, and I asked him to provide context, or if I wrote something here that he disagrees with, or it's wrong, or it's not good, to say something. The goal for this is to be an actual conversation, right? And I feel like our point today, predicting opportunity, is super cool. It kind of hurts my brain a little bit to think about. I am genuinely interested to hear your thoughts on it. Yep, diving into it. This week's special guest is Lance Cottrell. Oh, I think I just butchered. Did I say that right? Oh my gosh. Oh, awesome. Is awesome. I consider this a unique opportunity with near 100% odds of perspective changing takeaways. Background and origin story. I booked a call with Lance because I saw a link to books. Oh my God, I'm butchering this. Background and origin story. I booked a call with Lance Cottrell. Did I say that right again? I apologize. What was that?
Cottrell.
Cottrell. Oh my gosh. Yep. I booked a call with Lance Cottrell because I saw a link to book a call with Lance Cottrell. Oh my gosh. So I gave a keynote presentation in the Czech Republic at a medical informatics conference. I was there with a bunch of Harvard professors and I butchered every name. I was the chair for the conference. Oh my gosh. I just butchered every name across the board. What do you do? Okay. Well, I saw a link to book a call with Lance. So I said, why not? And I booked a call with Lance. And that is the origin to this good story. I'm just going to read that next paragraph. What I didn't realize until sitting on a Zoom in a t-shirt and face-to-face with Lance was that this was a rare, I got lucky, type opportunity. And I did nothing to prepare for it. Example, I didn't have a description of my company. I wasn't able to say anything about it. I didn't have a pitch deck. Lance asked me. And I was wearing a grabbed without a second thought black t-shirt from my closet. This is okay. Then we'll go dive into it. Oh my gosh. I am bringing this up. I reached out to you because I still regret this. I don't remember. It's been a year or so. I was a boxer for a long time, and some of the fights that I regret, I had like 144 fights. The ones that I regret are the ones where I didn't try hard enough, or like I don't really regret losing, but I do regret not trying hard enough. And this feels like those boxing matches. It's I didn't even know. What was that?
When I was studying Kung Fu, I had the same sort of feeling when I was doing sparring or things like that, losing was not a problem. In fact, if you weren't losing, you weren't really pushing your boundaries. You weren't trying new things. You want to be losing to even inferior fighters when you're sparring because you're always practicing new things. But it was being there with intention, with energy. That's the thing that really mattered.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a segue to the theme of this post, and it's it's super interesting. I'm going to dive into it. The meat of this one is closer to the bottom. This realization hit me around the 15-minute mark. I'm an empath, and the look on Lance's face said, "I have better things to do." I can actually, I can still picture the look on your face. Speaking of it resonating or the regret or whatever you'd want to call it, like it was significant enough. I know the look on your face, like some of the pictures you have in the background there. This was a year ago. I know where you were standing in relation to those pictures on the back wall, which is significant enough that it's seated in my memory. Yeah, super interesting. I'm an empath, and the look on Lance's face says, I have better things I could be doing. To Lance's credit, he was awesome all the way through and said nothing but nice things. That was another thing. When I realized that I did nothing to prepare for this and this was a missed opportunity, then I started analyzing every look on, every detail of your face, right? And it was awesome. Like I could tell that I messed up and I was looking for it, and you were a champ. It was much appreciated.
Well, not everyone comes with their A game sometimes, and sometimes people show up not knowing exactly what they want to ask about. So I always try to stay kind of open and in the moment and able to react to whatever the people are bringing when they jump into my office hours.
Oh my gosh, how often do you do that? So you mentioned office hours. Do you just have that open one day per week, or is it just general public? Or
I do it through a couple of different channels. So overall, probably I talk to over a dozen founders a week.
Sweet.
And I do that through Feel the Boot. I've got some free office hours, but those are pretty short and they book up months in advance. So I do a lot of talking to people through paid office hours. Plus I do some work with a number of accelerators. So anyone who's involved in those accelerators can get on my calendar as well. So between all of those, there's a lot of plate spinning, and I talk to a lot of founders, but I love talking to founders because they're really at the cutting edge of what's going on in business today. And I learned so much from that process.
Oh my gosh. If you don't mind, I'm going to jump on this opportunity to promote Feel the Boot. I read every episode, and I have since I found it or since I subscribed. It's out of, I'm coming up on 29,000 followers on LinkedIn, and I've subscribed to a bunch of newsletters. Yours is my favorite, hands down. Like I make a point to read it, and it's good. Like it's high quality. I like the structure. It resonates with me, and I'm I'm kind of saying that publicly. I'm pushing that publicly. I think it's in my audience's best interest to subscribe.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I try very hard to make these things actionable and applicable and the kind of things that founders need to know, the sort of things I really wished I had known when I was getting started. I mean, I think all of the episodes that I do either come out of my personal scar tissue or from those conversations with the founders and sort of really seeing where they're running into issues and how I can help them. But that's one-on-one. Then you make an episode that's scalable, that allows you to hit far larger numbers of people.
So Boot Prince is the newsletter. That's the name of the newsletter. And then it's Feel the Boot is the YouTube channel, right?
That's right. It's feeltheboot.com, Feel the Boot at YouTube, Feel the Boot at TikTok, if that's your jam.
How many episodes do you have now?
I think we've got 112 long forms and 90 some shorts.
Yeah, holy cow. Holy cow. Totally worth it. Diving back in. I'm leveraging this fail story to set the stage for Lance to share his well-experienced thoughts, advice, and perspective with my audience. From my perspective, this situation was me falling off my bike, scanning my knee, and then getting back on the bike again, which expedited my learning. And going back to our boxing thing, like I regret the ones where I didn't try hard enough. I have brought my A game to every meeting since ours, or the best I can. Where yeah, I still think about it. I was thinking about it preparing for this conversation. Like there's an advantage to things hurting, and that was one that I felt like I smashed my fingers a bit. And yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that mistakes are inevitable, right? You're always going to make mistakes. And the key is, you can ignore it and move on. You can flagellate yourself and feel really bad. Or like you've done, you can take the lessons learned from that and just make a commitment to not make that mistake again. I mean, what I always said to my team at Anonymizer was, make new mistakes. I don't want to see you make the same mistake again. It is fine to make a mistake, but don't make it twice.
How often, some of this I'm just making up as we go. How often would you say founders show up unprepared?
It's not too often. I think most of them have some specific issues that they want to talk about. Now, their company may be deeply unprepared, and often they haven't sort of put together a particular set of agenda for me, although that is hugely helpful. If people come in with a very clear idea of they want, I think they get a lot more out of the sessions. But usually, they're, for example, doing some fundraising and they want immediate feedback on the deck that they've got. It's not right, it's not ready, but it's a starting point to begin improving. That tends to be where they're coming in. But I think the more preparation you can do, researching who you're going to talk to, what their experience is, what they can bring, and having very specific questions helps, right? There's nothing worse than showing up with, hey, what advice do you have for a new founder? Right? Way too vague and not helpful to me. And we're probably not going to be able to deliver a lot of value to you in that conversation. Whereas if you come in with, I've got this really specific issue with working with my co-founder, that's some meat that we can get into and actually have a positive outcome.
Let's explore the elementary or elemental level of this a bit. So if somebody prepared an agenda on what to talk to maximize that time, let's say it's an hour or whatnot, would they send that agenda to you the night before, a week before? What would you recommend?
I would say for most cases, probably 24 to 48 hours is a good choice, right? Long enough for me to be able to take a look at it and spend a little time going through it and having some thoughts in advance. But if you send it too far in advance, I will have forgotten everything you sent me by the time I actually get to have that call. So you want to have it pretty fresh in mind. But I do like getting it in advance because if you hit me with it during our call, you're sort of only getting my off the cuff thoughts, right? The first reaction that I have to what you said. Whereas if I've had a little time to sit on it and think about it, you get a much more considered answer than, the instant reaction.
Oh my gosh. My wife and I were talking right before this, maybe 20 minutes ago. And I said the same thing. Like, I'm not going to give you an answer right now. I need some time to percolate it in my mind, or I would like some time. I feel like if I gave you an answer right now, it wouldn't be the best I could do, or however you'd want to say it. It would.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to give it more. Yeah. Oh, super cool. Super cool. Where was I? Okay. Now we're going to dive into the good stuff. Deep thought, predicting opportunity. And oh my gosh, I'm gonna read it, and I have the thought essentially articulated here, but this is actually really deep because we're talking about predicting an unknown, and I'm not sure if the known the PM speak. I'm not sure if known unknown applies here. I think it's unknown because we're talking about just things happen, right? Like from my perspective, uh, this meeting I didn't plan for because I didn't perceive an opportunity. Like it was just I was doing it because like I wanted to talk to you. That was the extent of my thought process on it. Uh, yeah, I think that would qualify as an unknown, or just something that just falls in your lap. Like, how do you predict the unpredictable? I guess, and yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I sort of it's in the word there. I guess you don't, right? You cannot predict the unpredictable, and the unknown unknowns are always a problem. But you can have a mindset and a posture which allows you to recognize and take advantage of those things, right? So when an opportunity comes up, you see it for what it is, right? It's not just some strange thing that, oh, that was interesting, but oh, that was interesting. And it means X, Y, and Z that I might be able to take advantage of and pivot towards. And then, having the energy and positioning to do an experiment, reach out, follow up, take advantage, or whatever. I tend to think a lot about Bruce Lee's discussion of martial arts, and he had a term, mind like water, where your
yes,
mind
sir. Yes, sir.
fits the space that it's in, right? You put water in a jug, it exactly fits the shape of that jug. Put it in a glass, it fits the glass. You always want to have your mind loose and relaxed so it can adapt to the situation you're in and react quickly from a sort of relaxed place, because that's where power comes from.
Oh my gosh. I have a bunch of thoughts here, but I'm just gonna keep going because I think they'll all come up naturally. Uh, my opener to this deep thought is in predicting opportunity, which I just mentioned. I consider this statement a standard human opinion and a standard flaw in human perception. Example: if success was easy and predictable, most people would be successful in easy and predictable ways. Now, now we're getting into the part that kind of breaks my mind a little bit here. Intuitively, maybe we're talking about cognitive biases, or maybe it's yeah, measurement bias could apply, but the assumption is that it will be easy. Like, I'm not, maybe I'm not really sure how to articulate that, but the assumption is that um, I will know how to get from point A to point B with minimal variance in between. But the reality is that a pot of gold might be on the side of the road, which would be C, or point A B, or so something goofy might happen if I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. Well,
Yeah, no, I mean, I think right. People go into this thinking that they can see the path that they're going to tread, and they can see the goal they want to get to, and they know where they are, and clearly there's a line that you can follow between them. And in my experience, virtually no one follows that path. You
that's
look
what
at almost any successful startup, they have multiple large pivots that they've undergone and changes of strategy, and everything has transformed. Bizarre coincidences and opportunities have popped up that revolutionized what they were doing and opened up whole new vistas of business to them that they never could have expected. And often they succeed in ways far beyond what those initial plans might have pointed out. What was it? I think Eisenhower said, "Plans are nothing, but planning is everything."
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And it's all because no plan survives first contact with the enemy. As soon as you start to execute, you're going to find out you're wrong, but you need to have done the thinking also.
Oh my gosh! Now we're starting to scope out this thing that I'm having a hard time vocalizing. The So the Netflix going from DVDs to streaming, that's the standard one or whatnot. In business, oh my gosh, I like how you brought this back. In business, what is the measure? What is the process to say, hey, we should step off this path? It looks super obvious that we should no longer be mailing DVDs. Like, I'm picturing it as not that quantifiable. Like it's got to be a gut feeling at some point, maybe at the singularity, the start of the realization that mailing out DVDs is no longer the way to go. we should take that risk, take that step into the streaming, to stay with the Netflix idea.
Yeah, I tend to think that you do this with experimentation, and it's a very dangerous thing to look over the hedge and say that grass looks really green. I should jump over there because it's greener than the grass that I've got here. But what you don't see is it's also full of rattlesnakes or whatever else may be going on over there. So I think if you've got sort of a viable business model now, if you don't, go do something else. But if you do have a viable business where you are, but you see something that looks like a better opportunity, I like to start doing very targeted experiments to test the waters, to see if that grass is really greener, to see if there are snakes in that grass, to understand how many bodies may be buried in that field, right? It looks real attractive, but it turns out it kills every company that tries to go in that direction. You need to really look at that closely before you just throw away what you're doing now and run in the new direction. But you can always set aside some time for that. I often describe the whole process of being a founder is strong convictions loosely held. Right? You need to believe in the direction you're going. You need to be committed. You need to be persistent. You have to execute against that direction, and that takes a huge amount of focus. And you need to be open to the idea that this is not, in fact, the right direction to be going, and you might need to move in a different direction and be, mind like water, open to these opportunities that come along, but without being wishy-washy and chasing every shiny that you see, right? It needs to be disciplined in the way you take it.
I'm picturing core, I was active listening, but I'm picturing core values like carpenter speak. What are you hooking your tape measure on and measuring this new opportunity from? You're testing it, but testing it for what? Or maybe for what goal in your personal experience?
Yeah. So, I think the key here is thinking about what are the key assumptions and metrics that are going to go into making that new direction successful. If you're a B2C consumer business, it might be, can you reach your target customers? Do you have an offering that attracts them, even if you haven't built it yet? But if you put up an ad, you spend $200 on ads and see, do you get traction? What's the CAC on that? If it's a B2B play, go out and do a bunch of interviews and understand, is this something they want? How else are they solving the problem? Where do you fall in their priority rank? Do they have budget for this kind of thing? Who are the decision makers? Making sure that before you go off and spend all your effort in that direction, you have removed most of those question marks and de-risked the whole prospect and validated it. It's exactly the same thing that I want founders to do before they ask me for money. I want that to be de-risked. You should be thinking about that before you risk your company in that new direction. And so each of these is a question mark, and you design a very simple, inexpensive experiment to go with it to help you make sure that you have confidence in all of those things. And even with all the validation, right, there's still a high chance that things go wrong, but at least you're not doing anything stupid. You removed all the obvious things, anything you could have seen as a likely problem or road bump or landmine, you have already uncovered. You know that, in fact, that's a viable, reasonable path to be taking.
Oh my gosh. I'm a visual thinker, and I was picturing that like tuning in on a radio station, like finding, because the signal at some point when you get close to the signal, you hear signal and fuzz at the same time. And that's got to be clarified a little bit. In which direction do you go, left or right?
And that's the continuous refinement process too, is you say, that seems like a viable direction. I've done some experiments. Let's now commit some actual resources, some more meaningful resources in that direction. And as soon as you begin to move in that direction, you're going to learn new things. Your first instinct is almost certainly not the right answer. And even if you don't need to do a large pivot from there, you're probably always going to be doing small course adjustments as you learn, as you understand what's going on. So you always want to be listening to that radio, making sure that you're staying dialed in exactly on station.
Oh my gosh. Well, we got 6 minutes left. I should read the next paragraph. Alrighty. Where did I leave off? My opener to Yep. Next one. Oh my gosh, this is a big one. This one hurts me a bit on the inside. This one hurts to think about, but it's true. Or my observations say it's true. Work ethic. I'm sharing this work ethic thought as the American go-to solution. The fails of work ethic hit home a bit, and knowing work ethic alone won't create opportunity personally feels disappointing. It does. It hurts me. You know, example, some of the hardest working construction workers I knew died broke and crippled. Nikola Tesla also. Extreme work ethic did not create extreme opportunity. Oh no, my gosh, this might tie back into the radio signal. Staying in the fuzzy zone, like you could work 100 hours a week and still get nowhere. There's janitors that could work 100 hours a week and not make as much as the CEO that works 1 hour a week, right? Like yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a substantial work smart, not hard aspect to these things, and work on the right things in the right proportions. And remember, it's all about the overall effectiveness and contribution. So the whole hustle culture, work 100 hours, never take a break, every single moment is devoted to the business, is sort of stupid because that's not how your body and brain work. Really, for super high level cognition, where you need to be ultra focused and your brain is working really, really hard, I believe you only have a couple of hours of that kind of thinking a day.
Yes,
and
sir.
then if you try to just sit and do it longer, the diminishing returns cut in a huge way. Now, there's many more hours of other activities that aren't quite as intense that you probably need to be doing as a founder or executive or anyone in business or in life, but you need to balance those out. And then you need to be doing physical exercise, boxing, kung fu, going for a run, going for hiking, eating healthy food, spending time with friends, balancing out that mental load. So you've got the energy to be effective, because when you're just living at the desk nonstop, you're actually not accomplishing much, even though you feel really busy. And that's the other thing, is the difference between busy and effective is huge.
Oh my gosh. I'm not sure how you said it previously, but I was thinking holistic, and you were describing. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it was when we were talking about. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I was picturing holistic decision making rather than like individual. Like think of everything in the interactions between the interactions.
Right. It's all in the larger context.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh my gosh, 2.5 minutes. Out of nowhere luck. I coach boxing and in boxing. Oh, it's super cool. You said karate, right?
Yeah, kung fu.
Kung fu. Oh my gosh. Super awesome. Out of nowhere luck. I coach boxing, and in boxing, great plans tend to fail the moment the bell rings. First shot. On the other side, great opportunities in boxing tend to come out of nowhere. Oh my gosh, I'm going to bust this one up. As a coach, I can see things from the corner that the boxers in the ring didn't do, or they can't see because they're too close to the problem. When I was boxing, this happened. One of the greatest knockouts I ever had, I didn't see at all. Like my coach told me to throw a left hook or whatever, and I was scared to do it. I was terrified to do it because you expose yourself every time you punch, and I rocked the guy. Yeah. I didn't see that opportunity because I was too close to the problem, and my coach saw it, and it was just a blind faith that led to this success. Okay.
Well, I mean, and this shows the importance of having advisors and mentors and
Good
others
call.
who are not in the trenches with you, because being in the trenches, doing the execution, makes it really hard to see the bigger picture. And having someone with that sort of standing aside perspective can help you see a lot of opportunities. But it's also trainable, right? The better you get at boxing or any of these things, the more you're able to spot those openings, see the person dropping their guard or what have you, to allow you to then, come in and react. When I fenced, you got your sword, they suddenly leave an open line for a half second and you can move in and hit them. I actually built my business originally around that idea, that I knew I wanted to go in a general direction. And so I built a company that could bootstrap and expose itself to a tremendous number of opportunities, so I could follow them up, see which one was going to be the most effective, and go in that direction. But I actually had a very loose concept of what I wanted to do, centered around positioning myself for serendipity. And in fact, our pivot happened the same way. And I think I told you this story,
Yes, sir.
that we moved from consumer privacy to government when we were being subpoenaed by the local FBI office. And not for the first time. We'd gotten lots of subpoenas from them.
Standard process.
Yeah. And well, it wasn't anymore. We knew them at this point because they came so often. And this one time we sort of started asking them about how they addressed these issues. How did they hide who they were from the bad guys? And that didn't have a really good answer and led to us getting to know them, do some presentations. They became our first customer in the government. And we did some experiments. We realized, oh, they were interested in this. Are there other people in the government interested in this? And within a couple of years, it was 95% of our business. It just took off like a rocket.
Oh my gosh. We are at time. I'm going to read this last sentence here, but I think you just answered it. Doing nothing would be the most statistically poor choice equals should do something. With what is that something? What to do when the opportunity falls in your lap and there's no time to think. I believe you just answered that, or yeah, you did just answer that. Closing thought here in our last minute.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really is a matter of having that holistic view, be aware of the space you're in, keep moving forward, right? There's nothing worse than being dead. You need to be moving in some direction, but always have your feelers out for where are the opportunities, how can you take those on, change direction, be more effective, avoid threats that are coming at you. So it's a matter of staying both in that moment, executing in the business, but also getting your head up, looking around and keeping an eye on the bigger context, really both working in the business, but also working on the business.
Oh my gosh, that was an awesome closing thought there. Last promotion, everybody subscribe to Bootprints. It really is like no joke. It's my favorite newsletter. And then Feel the Boot. Your presentation style is awesome. It resonates with me. It works. And the info you share is it's great. It's deep. I've learned a lot from you, Lance.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's been fun talking to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And we're